Welcome back to another episode of R&R, where today we're going to be talking about chicken brooders. Yes, it's that time of year again. We officially have them in our area. Tractor Supply's got them. Some of the other feed stores locally in the area have chicken brooders. I just want to get on here and talk a little bit about the supplies that we use, and a particular brooder that we use, a DIY, in fact, for that matter. Just kind of a little bit of tips, tricks, and hacks of what we use and found to work over the years. First and foremost, this is what we use. This is your standard lawnmower trailers. You know, it's just a lawnmower trailer is all it is. You can purchase one of these for between $30 and $50, sometimes cheaper on Facebook or Craigslist. You can buy a commercial made brooder. The only problem with trying to do something like that is it's kind of a one-time use thing. So this way here, if you buy this trailer, you can use it as your brooder, keep them in there for 3 to 5 weeks, put them outside in your outside coop with a light on them, and now you got a trailer you can use on your property. You know, if you buy just a regular brooder, it's kind of a one-time use deal. You use it for 3 weeks and you have to put it up. So this is kind of a little bit more cost-effective for us. On this side here, you can kind of see how we have it set up. This is kind of more or less our feeder side. You know, some people like to start off with these little types of feeders here. You buy these bottoms, they're pretty cheap. You can usually get them for $2 or $3. You know, put a mason jar or an old peanut butter jar in this case, fill it full of chick starter, and you can use that. We prefer to use these longer feeders with the spinner on top. This particular one's here, they're metal, they hold up for a long time. As you can see, this one right here, I have had for at least 20 years. Here's Millie Cat, but I've had at least 20 years. You know, it's a little bit rusty, but we use it every year. You can disinfect them, clean them up. They, use them every single year. You know, they do make these versions here. This top cover actually slides off, kind of keeps them out of there. I don't like this style because this is harder to keep clean versus this. You know, this is a deterrent just like this is, but this is far easier to keep clean, far easier to refill your feed. But those are your smaller type feeders. You also got larger ones as they get older. You know, something like this would be a larger one. I use this old squirrel baffle here on top. And what that does is keeps them from getting inside of it. You can use a smaller this type feeder as well. Keep them from getting on top of it. I just take an old soccer ball. Works great. You know, you take the soccer ball off, fill up your feed, put your soccer bar back on, you're good to go. You can make a homemade version. These are a couple little DIY versions. This essentially is just like this one. So this is an old juice bottle, little piece of a bamboo rod, and this is an old piece of vinyl blinds. So we use vinyl blinds all the time, pick them up on the side of the road, and we use them for plant tags. They make great plant tags, but in this case, we just used it to make a little feeder. This is a cheap little DIY option. Also on a bigger scale, this is made from a chicken litter bucket. A lot of times people will have these on hand. Really simple. Cut the sides out of it, move them to the inside, put a couple little pieces of plywood in the bottom, and it acts just like a baffle to get the feed down to the side. And that'll hold around 10 pounds of feed. So if you got several chickens, it works well, but both for chicks and for chickens. Again, these are some larger feeders here. Moving on to the water side of things. This right here is what your standard, people buy. This is a small, again, you buy the bottom, and then you can put your mason jar, peanut butter jar, whatever you want to on top. And they're pretty standard. We also use and prefer this one. I actually don't really use these at all. If you only have a couple chicks, if you have maybe 3 to 6 chicks, this right here is all you're going to need. Perfect setup, easy to get. You can purchase them at pretty much any local feed store, Tractor Supply, that kind of deal. We prefer this just because it's easier to deal with. It's a little over a gallon. It lasts usually for between 1 to 2 days, and it's easy to keep clean. We have it in a brooder situation. We just have it sitting like this, but you can also hang it up in a coop situation as well for older birds. And the way that we set this up is, again, you got water on one side, you have feed on the other side. So you come in the mornings, you have your plywood or your cardboard. This is an old shipping box. Put your cardboard down here at the bottom. Your chicks are going to primarily be, all their waste and stuff is going to be around the feed and the water, areas. put the plywood underneath them, and it collects most of your waste. Come in the, in the morning, fill your water back up, flip this over, put that back on here. It's kind of another clean surface. And that evening, you change that, change that cardboard completely out, put another piece, and you're good to go. And then what you actually can do with these is, these are great in the garden for doing beds and stuff, use it as a weed barrier. And they also have chicken manure on them, so it's kind of a self-fertilizing. But that's the water setup. And that's kind of how we kind of keep it. Moving on here to heat lamps or heat sources. Oh, and then other thing to mention here, as they get older, you want to raise your water up and your feeders up. Same thing with the smaller ones. This is just a little block of wood. As they get older, raise it up. And what that does, that keeps them from getting as messy. So in this case right here, we're just using an old hand truck tire. Again, this is something that's easily found. But yeah, that's again, those are some options. But moving on to the heat lamp setup, what we like to use is, this is your standard heat lamp fixture. It's got a red bulb in there. This particular ones that we use here. If you can't find these heat lamps here, you can always go to like PetSmart, something like that, and find these little reptile bulbs, and they'll work just fine as well. But we mount it on a shelf bracket. You can find these cheap at your big box stores. And what that enables you to do is, sorry for the shaky camera here, what it enables you to do is, you can start off at the bottom. When you first get your chicks, lower your heat lamp way down, keeps it, in that kind of heat range that you're looking for. As they get older, they need less heat. You can raise this up however you need to. Also, we added this little cable here, acts as a fail-safe. So if this was to ever fall off, it'll act as a fail-safe. So that's another option there. And this, again, this is pretty much, infinitely adjustable. And when you're noticing the heat lamp, when you notice your chicks, you want to adjust your temperature based on the behavior of your chicks. So if they're all huddled up here in the middle, that means that they're cold. So you want to lower this heat lamp down. If they're more or less out here around in the big ring, you want to raise it back up. If what you really want to see is you want to see some over here, some over there, spread out. And that means that there's a steady temperature, and that's kind of a, the best thing for them. But that's the heat lamp for the particular brooder that we use. Then moving on to a cover. If you're like us and you have cats, or as they just naturally get older, your chicks get older, they get a little more flighty on you. Sorry, trying to do this one-handed. There we go, sorry about that. But this is an old fireplace screen. And what this is this is a cheap and effective way you can keep things out of your chicks, and you can also keep your chicks in here. And if you need to get in, say you need to get in here and get to your feed, you got access to your feed, you can change it out, do what you need to do there. Same thing with the water. Get in here to your water side. And it again, very cost effective. It's a kind of a cheaper option and something that's a little more dual purpose, and that's what we prefer. We want something to be a little more dual purpose. Again, you can buy one of these trailers fairly cheap, and you can use it all year round. You can use it for other things too. So hopefully this helps. Maybe you get some ideas, answer a few questions, that sort of thing. You guys have a good day. Thanks.